we now have terabytes of information that comes off our racing cars. That would be impossible for us to tap into and find the answer. AI allows us to take all this data and turn it into quick decisions.
How does JLR Motorsports fit with JLR?
So, really good question. If I look at the example with Jaguar, we have this incredible history of racing. All the way back to things like 1954, the first car to ever win Le Mans with disc brakes, and huge success at Le Mans 24 Hours. We've been involved in Formula One, won European Touring Car Championships. There's a lot of success in motorsport, but the ethos was always around using racing to prove technologies on the racetrack that we could bring to our customers. And that's a really important point because that is the ethos that we have today. We're involved in Formula E, which is the pinnacle of electric racing. It's actually only, believe it or not, only 10 years old as a sport. It's still in the startup, but it was the first ever all-electric motorsport in the world. And it's the pinnacle of electric racing now. So you have Formula One, the pinnacle of internal combustion engine racing, and you have Formula E, the pinnacle of electric racing. And wind the clock back, it was created in 2014. We entered in 2016, and we saw this sport become formed. We saw it gaining momentum, and it was the perfect time for us as a brand to say we wanted a return to racing, but it had to be for the right reason, going back to that ethos I talked about, this race to road ethos. And so what better time as we were starting to shape our future. The Paris Climate Change Convention happened in 2015. It was clear that we had a bookend to the end of ICE engine production, whereas a car company, we'd have to stop producing ICE engines. So we saw the bookend coming and we said, rather than follow our competitors into traditional motorsport, why don't we lead from the front and be the first car company and brand to fully commit to produce our own all-electric racing cars and be our own team in this burgeoning electric championship. It's an incredible place to be, pioneering incredible electric vehicle technology, showcasing the benefits of zero-emission mobility, and continue to write that chapter of Jaguar's DNA, which is motorsport.
How does that transcend into the actual manufacture of everyday vehicles? Because Formula E is clearly such a niche opportunity for everybody to enjoy and participate in. But how does that transcend into everyday usage in cars?
Yeah, really good question. And I'll give you an example. So I talked about silicon carbide technology as being something which we use in our Formula E car. We started using that technology in 2017. In fact, it was 4 years before we announced that JLR will use that technology on all its future production cars. So we're around 4 years generally ahead of the normal automotive cycle as a racing team. But it's a perfect opportunity for us to, we use the phrase sometimes, we fail fast. We try technology. If it works, it really works. If it doesn't, we try it, but we put it away, we don't use it again. And as a racing team, you have to turn over those stones to find those opportunities. And silicon carbide was a great example. That will come onto all future production cars, not just from JLR, but most likely our competitors. But we were the first application of that, and it's a great example. That allowed us to win races. Why did we use that technology in racing? Well, because it made our powertrain more efficient. And for us in Formula E, we have a power limit, so it's not how much more powerful you can be, it's what you do with the available energy. Being more efficient allows us to go faster for longer. So on the racetrack, that makes us faster over a lap and faster over a race. For a customer, what that means is more range. What that means is less demand to charge. So you're charging less because you can go further. And that has a benefit in terms of just practicality and convenience, but it also has a benefit in terms of the amount we're pulling off the network, so the amount of raw material you're using. So it has a sustainability benefit as well. And there's many other examples as a team that where we've been ahead of the curve. Everything from how we look at the data we use and how we are simulating how much energy we think we're going to need. That's gone on to our future vehicles. Good example, looked at how fast, how aggressive we are in terms of using the amount of energy we have in the car. And that allowed us to increase the range of our Jaguar I-Pace by 20 kilometers, just through software, looking at how hard we could push the car thermally, how hot could we make the battery become, and how we'd manage that process. That was a free range increase just through understanding, through pushing the limits. So there's many examples in our time in racing, and the great thing, they're all benefits to consumers. Another example is the work we did with our partner Castrol. So rather than continue to use new oil, we found a process to re-refine that oil. And that's a great example because we will roll that process into our future production cars to use a similar process. We have a commitment at JLR to be net carbon zero by 2039. The way we achieve that is to be circular. And in the racing team, we're finding a way to not only showcase performance, but find a way to be circular. Formula E is about driving sustainability in the sport as well. But that correlation between what we're doing on the racetrack and the road, they're two great examples where we're bringing technology to make the cars more efficient, but we're finding ways to also be more circular as well.
Do you think AI is going to have a big impact for Formula E and also for your team?
Yes, and some of the things that I talked about just then are really relevant. AI for us allows, the more knowledge we can build up in a specific area, the more we can enrich AI with that information. The ability to trial everything from what is the best way to go about designing an all-electric powertrain, what are the best potential solutions. So everything from that design phase. And in the racing phase, I talk about racing 20 other cars on the racetrack. What are the behaviors of those other competitors? AI has huge capability, and you see it already used significantly in sport. And in motorsport, it has a massive role to play. We're in a technology-driven sport where it's human and machine interacting. And AI plays a significant role to allow us to know the answers to things which would take us a lot longer. And a great example of this is we now have terabytes of information that comes off our racing cars. That would be impossible for us to tap into and find the answer. AI allows us to take all this data and turn it into quick decisions. And that in a sports environment, but actually in a business environment is a really powerful tool.